Hello learners, today we are going to discuss about another important aspect of the environmental impact assessment, that is a public participation technique. In the present era of the rapid development in science and technology and consequent commercial and industrial growth, the environment is repeatedly violated with scant that regard to the ecological balance. So, in the mounting violations of the environment, what is at stake is the well-being of the people. That means we, the human population especially. Regulatory process of the state for environmental protection that have to reach new dimensions in this context. So, on the public awareness, on the extent of pollution and the need for a clean environment which is being made. The press, radio, television and other media every day highlights the evils of environmental pollution and try to create an environmental consensus among the public. Once people become environmentally conscious and also got some awareness and mass movement gather the momentum. Law that cannot be lagged behind. Clear and effective provisions providing for public participation in environmental decision making that will definitely have to be incorporated in the legislation. There are different forms of the public participation. So, the public participation in environmental discussion form, it can participate or making process that can be a variety of forms through conversations or through phones, conversations, or they can write letters. The public can form pressure groups that exerts some influence on government for making proper decisions. So, these groups can conduct public interest litigations with a view to preserving environmental quality. So, the members of the public that can act as a members of the advisory councils also and agencies that constituted for the protection of the environment. They can even act as an enforcement personnels. So, the members of the public that can become a spokesman of the environmental interest in the inquiries that held prior to making a decision impacting on the general environment. So, it is always interesting and useful. A sound public participation should be well established in both practices and the literature also as foundational to effective, efficient and fair environmental assessment. Public participation in environmental impact assessment will definitely prove to be an important for assessment of environmental impact of development of certain projects and actually support the decision making process, which will be so crucial to the protection of both the environment and human health by facilitating the general public, by bringing the awareness in the general public. So, the public participation involves so many steps, but major steps I would like to emphasize. If you will consider the first step, that is a communication. So, how to communicate. Then the second step is planning. Third one is implementing. Then monitoring and assessing. Afterwards adapting. And then understanding public participation, which is a vital for resolving or providing solutions, or we can say that reducing environmental disputes which have more aware towards their surrounding environment. So, not only the consulting of the public, it also helps in smoothening the process, especially in decision making. It will definitely facilitate the decision makers. There are a number of basic principles that can be followed to help to ensure a successful outcome when using public involvement techniques. We will consider only few over here. First one is the sufficient relevant information must be provided in a form that is easily understood by non-experts, that is without being simplistic or insulting anyone. That means whatever you want to express, it should be understood by the non-experts. That means clearly you have to mention. And the second one is sufficient time must be given to the stakeholders to read the letter and also discuss and consider the information and their implications. That is also most important. Whether it is correct or not, they also have to check. And third one is adequate time. That means sufficient time has to be given to enable stakeholders to present their views. That is also most important. It is not a hurried process. So we have to give ample time to review the process. And the next comes to the responses should be provided to the issues or the problems which are raised by the stakeholders or the comments which have been provided by the stakeholders. So it will enable the public confidence in the public involvement in the environmental impact assessment process to be maintained as a transparent process. And the next comes to the selection of venues and the timings of the events that should be definitely encouraged with the maximum attendance and a free exchange of views by all stakeholders. That means we have to provide a friendly atmosphere to the stakeholders so that they will come with their proposals with views with free mind. It may also include are less confident about expressing their views in some cases. The process of public hearing, whoever apply for the environmental clearance of the projects, they will submit to the concerned State Pollution Control Board 20 sets of documents. So these are the mandatory requirements. They are an executive summary that comprises the salient features, that is the important features of the project, both in English language as well as the local language, along with the environmental impact assessment. So that is a mandatory. But for pipeline the project, environmental impact assessment report will not be required. But environmental management plan that includes the risk mitigation measures is highly required. And then Form 13 is also there, that is prescribed under water, that is a prevention and control of the pollution rules 1975, in which discharge of sewage and trade effluents for certain factories or certain organizations or certain projects, we can say that, and the treatment of water in any form is highly required. Form 1, which prescribed under the Air Prevention and Control of the Pollution Union Territory Rules 1983, where discharge of emissions is involved in any process or operation or any of the industry. Any other information or document which is necessary in the opinion of the board, final disposal of the application. Notice of the public hearing. The State Pollution Control Board shall cause a notice for environmental public hearing that shall be published in at least 2 newspapers widely circulated in the region around the project. So that is also most important. That means they have to print and then that should be circulated. So one of that will be in the vernacular language of the locality concerned. State Pollution Control Board shall mention the date, time and place of the public hearing. Suggestions, views, comments and objections of the public shall be invited within 30 days from the date of publication of the notification. So all persons, including bona fide residents and environmental groups and other located at the project site or the site of displacement or the sites which are likely to be affected, have to be participate in the public hearing. They can also make any oral or written suggestions to the State Pollution Control Board. So there is a flexibility of expressing their views. Then composition of the public hearing panel comes into the picture. So the composition of public hearing panel may have the representative of the State Pollution Control Board, district collector or his nominee. his or her nominee, and the representative of the state government dealing with the subject, and representative of the department of the state government that deals with the environment, and not more than 3 representatives of the local bodies like municipalities or panchayats, and not more than 3 senior citizens of the area nominated by the district collector, because they are experienced persons. They must have seen so many adverse conditions, effects, they are able to tell them or express them better way. And access to the executive summary and the environmental impact assessment, that concerned persons shall be provided access to the executive summary and environmental impact assessment report of the project at the places. For example, district collector office they have to display, or otherwise district industry center also they can display, in the office of the chief executive officers of Jilla Parishad, or the commissioner of the municipal corporation or local body, any of the case. So, in the head office of the concerned state pollution control board and its concerned regional offices, in the concerned department of the state government that deals with the subject of the environment, and time period of the public hearing has to be displayed, and the public hearing shall be completed within a period of 60 days from the date of receipt of complete documents as required under this one, like US strategy. So, we can also see that how the remaining countries in globe they are following this one. If the US strategy is concerned, it is one of the most exhilarating exercises in active public involvement that can be found in the environmental decision making process in the United States. The National Environmental Policy Act 1969, which is also known as NEPA, that provides that before they take up major federal actions significantly affecting the environment, and all federal agencies should prepare an environmental impact statement. If we will see the British model, the Control of Pollution Act 1974, a comprehensive legislation in Britain that emphasizes the need for public participation in pollution control measures. This act is designed to control waste disposal, pollution of water, pollution of noise, and the pollution of the atmosphere on the whole. Under the provisions of this act, the Secretary of the State can hold a local inquiry with a view to preventing or dealing with pollution or noise pollution at any place. If you will consider the case study of the Soviet style, unlike their United States counterparts, citizen organizations in the USSR do not involve themselves in litigation against governmental projects, but acting within the system, they will strive for securing more effective environmental protection measures. The important point of the public participation technique, it is the process by which the concerns of the local people regarding the adverse impacts of a project which are ascertained and taken into account in the environmental impact assessment study that we have understood. This concept was legally introduced in India in the form of public hearing in 1997 itself. Then the public hearing process has been conducted as a mandatory step for the environmental clearance for most projects and the activities. So the public consultation process definitely ensures an equitable and fair decision making process that results in better environmental outcomes. So the type of consultation, whom to consult during environmental impact assessment activities, when and how to do so, and all these have to be checked, and then who should do it all vary significantly from project to project. So that means this process is not an uniform process for all proposed projects. So this depends on the need of the project, and also it is an important component for all types of the projects, but the procedure is different, because public consultations that definitely helps to calm the concerns of the local community and also reduce inaccurate information in the environmental impact assessment report because it is a legal document. So we cannot hide the facts or misinterpret the data. Ideally, public consultation should start with the inception of the project idea and continue throughout environmental impact assessment process. Public involvement in the environmental impact process definitely can take place during the screening, scoping, impact analysis and mitigation, review of environmental impact assessment quality and execution, as well as the follow-up procedure. In India, public involvement in the environmental clearance is somewhat limited, what we have discussed earlier. So the public consultation is organized at a juncture when the environmental impact assessment report is already prepared and the proponent is going to present it before the review committee for clearance. So prior to that, it should be ready. This indicates that environmental impact assessment study has not taken into account the apprehensions and problems which are important to the general public, which are associated with the proposed project. Even though the people raise certain issues during the public hearing, they have no ways of understanding if it is really addressed in the final environmental impact assessment report, since they have no access to it. So, public hearing is a mandatory step in the process of environmental clearance for some developmental projects. So, it will provide a legal space for the community of a particular area to come face to face with project proponent and the government to express their concerns freely. So, public hearing is organized before issuing NOC by State Pollution Control Board. The district collector is the key person of public hearing committee. Other members of the committee also there. They may be the official from the district developmental body, that is state level pollution control board, Department of Environment and Forest, Taluka or Tehsil, and Gram Panchayati's representative should be there, and the senior citizens should be there, of course, of any of the district concern, and the committee that hears the doubts, concerns and also the suggestions of the general public which are associated with that project, and after introducing some clauses, it is approved for the next stage of the consent, that is by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. Dear learner, I would like to conclude that in the United States and in other countries that followed suit, India should adopt environmental impact process carried out in the open, in which the people get a fair or otherwise transparent and effective opportunity for contributing significantly to a sound and objective decision making. The need for open public inquiry is to be emphasized in this context definitely. Openness and fairness, that being the watchwords of modern welfare administration. People should have ready access to the deliberations of the environmental protection agencies. This will help the authorities to make rational decisions. I think, learner, you must have understood about the importance of this one. Thank you.